Everybody, I didn't introduce myself yet. I'm Toby Moseley, I'm Global Partnerships Lead at the IFoA. It's good to be here today. Before we move on to our next session, which will be led by Irene, we thought we'd test your knowledge with a quiz to see how much you know about the IFoA and how much you know about what it means to be an actuary. So if the power of technology works. Okay. A Menti quiz. So you'll need a new code on Menti for this one, and it is 6542 7971. So 6542 7971. Give you a little moment to get that loaded up. You might have to close Menti down and open it again, because otherwise it will think you're still in the one before. Can you just put your hands up once you're in the quiz, so I can see? Again, you need to put your name in a minute, so be prepared. I'll give you a couple of minutes just to logged in. Everybody in? Hands in the air if you're in the quiz. Yeah. Over here. You're in. Over here. There is a prize, I'd just like to say, for the winner of the quiz. So yeah, so 6542 7971. Right. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. So, introduction. Answer these questions to test your actuarial science knowledge against your peers. All answers anonymous, except for the quiz in the end where you can type in your name. So to be able to answer, there you go. So you've got 30 seconds to answer each question when they come up. They'll come up on the screen and they should come up on your phone as well. Right, we've got 92 players ready. Hopefully put in your name. Got an icon. Let's give it a couple more minutes. Six, 107. Right, let's begin. Yeah, a few more coming in. Six 6542 7971 is the code. So not only when you answer, do you get points for answering the question correctly, the quicker you do it, the more points you get as well. Right, I'll wait till it gets to 200 and then we'll start. I think we seem to be stuck at 184, so maybe we'll start. Oh. Oh.
11, 9, 8, 5, 4.
Right. Are you ready?
Almost.
Ooh.
This is 200.
Okay, right. Are you ready? Here we go. Answer fast to get more points. The IFoA has approximately how many members globally? Correct answer is 33,000. Ready? Question 2. Which of the following is not a membership category within the IFoA? Correct answer is technician. Right, ready for question number 3. Which of the following is a primary objective of the IFoA? Way to advance actuarial science globally and promote the highest standards of education and practice. They get harder. Question 4. What is the primary purpose of an actuarial valuation in life insurance? Ten seconds. Well done. To evaluate the financial implications of uncertain future events such as mortality. We've got some very clever people in the room. Question 5. What does the term discount factor refer to, and how is it applied in the calculation of actuarial present values? No Googling on your phone either. A multiplier used to adjust future cash flows to present value. Right, question 6. A company has a gross profit margin of 30% and total sales of $500,000. If the operating expenses are 80,000, what is the operating profit? The answer is oh. Right, question 7. Which of the following is not a primary objective of financial management? Answer is minimizing operational costs only. Right. Are you ready for the last question? Ready? What does the acronym P&C stand for in actuarial context, particularly in the general insurance sector? Property and casualty. Ooh. Right, we leaderboards. Michelle is our winner with 651 points. Do we have Michelle? Do you know who Michelle is? Come down.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Which number two?
I know you cannot know now, but that's the one who scored 0.
Oh, even me. And we're going to have another quiz, aren't we? Yes. And for those people who perhaps were not able to win this quiz, we will have one quiz towards the end. So there's another chance, another opportunity. So, okay, I'm Irene Redman, and I head up our relationship management and market development across Africa and the Middle East. And today I'm going to speak to you more about the actual qualification. So we have, in terms of the qualification or our credentials, there is not only the associate and the fellow, the fellowship, but we also have several other certificates and several other different kinds of qualification. And you'll see it something that's very interesting in as much as they are collaborations with other organizations, because we recognize as an organization we are not the best at everything. We know what we're good at, and we work with those other organizations that also have strengths in those areas to collaborate and work together. So this is a professional body. The IFoA is a professional membership body. So why should you join something like this, and why not just study and try and find a role, a job, or career? And that is because it's really important to be part of this professional recognition, recognizing that you are joining a profession. And even as a student, you become a member, you are joining the profession and you are part of the profession. And it also demonstrates that you're actually serious about your career and serious about developing yourself as a professional and to future employers and future clients. It's part of this global community, the networking, and being part of something wider than where your immediate surroundings might be. It gives you access to, in as much as that networking, the resources that is available to people beyond just your immediate sort of circle of people that you know or community. It adds credibility, so you're making yourself a much more credible professional, and then there's opportunities to also volunteer. We can see this with Ask and Task, that they have actually volunteered and they've created this wonderful event. But also there's a lot of ability to contribute in so many other ways. So you join the IFoA, so what are the benefits? What do you get out of it? And that is support for your career and developing through your career of the technical. There's events where we do most of our events, virtual events, so that it means anyone can access it from anywhere. We have the foundation buddy system and mentorship. But you're also part of a global professional community. The IFoA is the most global international actuarial association in the world. Of every association, it is the most global. We are international. Over half of our membership is outside of the UK and is growing. So our history might be British, but we are global. And you will be joining this global organization and all of the opportunities it presents. Research, knowledge, and thought leadership. There's access. When you join, you have access to something called the virtual learning environment, and that is available. It doesn't matter whether you're a student or whether you're a fully qualified professional. You have access to the same resources as a fully qualified professional, even as a student. And that also includes for students, there's, we have an e-library where the IFoA pays for the licenses for you to use electronic books, journals, magazines, etc. for free, because that comes as part of the benefit of your membership. And then also opportunities to volunteer. Even as a student member, you can still volunteer for working parties, you can volunteer for committees, for different types of things. So you don't have to wait till you're actually qualified. And that's an amazing opportunity to contribute and be part of a community of qualified actuaries. So people say, what's an actuary? And I just wanted to show you some photos of real life actuaries. And they come in all shapes and sizes. And you'll recognize one from the task convention, I think it was 2 years ago. So what skills do you need to become an actuary? It's more, and as President Cartina referred to, it's not just studying for the exams, studying for your academic degree. There's other skills that you will need, and that you don't have those all at the same time, but you'll need to work on developing those. And that's the business sense and commercial awareness. And you saw that in some of the questions that were asked in the quiz, and Cartina also referred to that, is that commercial awareness and business acumen, project management skills and problem-solving skills. You'll have to manage a lot of things, studying and working, or family life. There's a lot to manage, and that's managing a project. The number one thing that people think about, mathematics and analytical skills, and also a big thing is self-motivation. It's going to be hard, and no one ever said it was going to be easy. There's other things you can do if you want it easy, but it's that self-motivation, that perseverance and the tenacity and the resilience to be able to continue going towards your goal. And ambition is, do you want to attain that gold standard, that international standard that sets you apart from many other different professions, that says you are amongst the best and the brightest? And then finally, excellent communication skills. As technical professionals, you do need to be able to communicate that to other people, to boards, to the C-suite, the CEOs and the COOs, the CFOs, because you have all of that technical knowledge and that forecasting and all of the different things that you take into account. But you have to explain this to somebody who has very little idea of what you're probably actually talking about in the technical sense. So that's a really important skill. So going back to why become an actuary is it's every place that we go, there's always a demand for more qualified actuaries than there are in the market. So there's always going to be a job for you. And so that's an amazing thing to know that you're walking into a career, that you will be able to find a job. International opportunities. We were hearing earlier when we were meeting with some here in Kenya that we understand that Kenyans are very, very sought after in other markets because they're so highly qualified, and that there's so many opportunities. So and Cartina referred to it, there's so many international opportunities that are also available. Good pay, financial reward. We know that it's remunerated well. That's always a good thing. Highly transferable skills. It's not just about working in insurance or working in risk. Wherever there's data and wherever there's problems and wherever there's the future, your skills and your knowledge and your ability will serve you well. It's respected, you use your talent, and job security, it's always in demand. So one question I get when I speak to students is they say, what is the difference between an actuary, an accountant, and a CFA? So I spoke to some actuaries, some accountants, and some CFAs, and this is sort of a little sort of summary of what they basically said. And the actuary actually told me what is very unique about actuaries compared to these other professions is they're geared towards both assets and liabilities, and they're uniquely trained to understand liabilities because they're complicated. And this really sets the actuarial profession and is a huge sort of source of, it's a very powerful difference to have. Now, typical areas of actuarial work, some of you might be very aware of these, some of it might be unfamiliar, but it does go everywhere from your traditional insurance all the way to sort of resource and environment and climate change. Really, actuaries can make a role for themselves wherever they want. They don't need to be asked because there's opportunities out there everywhere. So what do actuaries do? And that's the value of customers, designing different things, so it's being creative. It's having deep expertise in all things data, and then there's digital ecosystems, it's predictive modeling and optimization, and then there's future contingent events and uncertainties. There's this huge different variety of things that actuaries do and can do. So where else can actuaries add value other than in the actuarial department in an organization? And that's where you can work with the marketing team. Because the marketing team, when they're launching a new product, how to be able to establish that. You can work with the accounting team, modeling and working with them, product development, developing different things based on the knowledge that you have and the skills that you have, and identifying and managing risk. So there's a huge variety in one company where actuaries can add value. So talking about the actuarial qualification, Cartina showed the full spectrum of the qualification, and I just wanted to sort of focus on the associate at this point in time for the different exams and the requirements to become an associate. But I wanted to present it in a slightly different way, so you can see that this is when you look at the exams. A lot of people say, oh, it's 10 exams, 10 things to do. But actually, when you look at these exams, you can see that 6 are actually actuarial in nature. You've got 2 that are very important because they're an important foundation for this knowledge that you're learning, but they're actually not really technically actuarial. So that's the finance and economics. The other thing that's actually really quite interesting is that the report writing and the communication, the case study, is the business management and communication. Communications is basically you're writing a report using the technical knowledge, and you're writing a report that a board or some senior stakeholders can understand what you're trying to communicate, even though they aren't actuaries. So when you look upon it, it's actually a much more varied way to prepare to become an associate, in addition to professionalism. And we're unique, and we're the only actuarial body that at the associate level actually explicitly examines communication. So the fellowship level, we cover a whole wide breadth and depth of fellowships. So this is the specialism subjects of once you become an associate, how would you like to specialize? And we were, for the longest time, one of the few actuarial bodies where you could choose whichever ones you wanted. So you could choose any of the 2 specialist principal exam and any one of the advanced exam. And that's unique because where you have environments where there's so many demands for actuaries is instead of being specialized in one specific area, you can be specialized in several specific areas. And that's actually a huge strength and hugely valuable to you and to the different places that you might work. So what we try to do as an organization is we try to help people get through the qualification as fast as they can, because we know it's difficult, we know that people fail often. So if we're speaking to people who are university students, we know that a lot of actuaries come through the university route. That's where they learn about actuarial science, or that's where they start really understanding actuaries and actuarial science as a career. So we accredit universities, and that's where the universities are joined together in partnership with the IFoA to ensure that their courses and their exams are at the same technical rigor as the IFoA exams, so at a global standard. So accredited universities have demonstrated through not only their curriculum, but also through their examination and how the course is delivered, that they are at that global standard. And then the students, once they go to an accredited university, not only is it passing, it's actually getting good grades. So if you go to an accredited university and you do the course and you finish, just because you finished and graduated doesn't mean you get the exemptions, because you have to get the good grades. Only the students that get the good grades do, not just the students who passed. So it is not only going to accredited university, but also getting the grades is important. And we do that for undergraduate, masters, and then some postgraduate diplomas. And we also recognize that not every university is accredited, so we have what we call for non-accredited universities. You can submit your information. there's more information on this QR code and on the website about the different things that you covered in your academic, your undergraduate or graduate degree that potentially could count towards an exemption from IFoA exams. There's other ways that you can join the IFoA, because we are trying to make sure that we're inclusive, that we don't want to exclude people, we want to include people, however we can, within the parameters. So if you, for example, might have passed some exams with another actuarial body, you can use that, what's called transfer of prior learning. You're transferring that learning and saying, I learned the similar things as the IFoA curriculum. So, if you got good enough exam results, you can transfer that over. Also, sometimes people have chosen to go on and complete an actuarial qualification with another organization. Again, we look at, have you covered the same information to the same level as the IFoA, and then that's called an individual qualification recognition. And then for people who do have other professional bodies, CFA, CII, other things, ACCA, again, we try to give you credit for what's been the equivalent of what you have passed with them. So, and we offer the opportunity for people who aren't quite sure that they want to join just yet, and we call that non-member student. So you can try this out, and you can take either the mathematics or the statistics exams, and you can take them as many times as you'd like. There's no penalty for that. But once you pass one of them, so you can take the statistics exam, and let's say you fail that, now I'm going to try the mathematics exam. You fail that, so you're going to try the statistics exams. Again, once you pass one of those exams, to continue, you do have to become an IFoA member. So we have several resources that we provide as a professional body. We ourselves, we focus on the curriculum and the examinations and the professional virtual learning environment, but we don't specifically do exam study and preparation. But we do provide these resources, which is the syllabus, which tells you this is what you're going to know. Core reading, in the sense of the examiners write effectively what is a book to say this is what you need to know in the entirety for the exam. Not what you will be examined and not to memorize, but this is what is involved in this specific exam. We have all the past examination papers and the examiner's reports, so you can see what the examiner said about the particular results in a particular exam session. And then we've got various different webinars that we're starting to put up about how best to prepare. And then there's optional and suggested reading, again through, for members, the free virtual learning environment. So, and we do have, so as I said, the IFoA itself doesn't do training or tuition, but we do have now increasingly, and we're always on the lookout for very high quality, similar to these training providers that can support students and organizations with their training. So again, the QR code, you can find that, look up tuition providers on the IFoA website. They're all independent organizations that are not connected with the IFoA. An important thing, an important aspect of being a student working towards the associateship and also to fellowship is the personal and professional development. It's very important that it's more than just studying for exams and passing exams. It's also demonstrating that you're a professional. And that's work experience, but also there's core competencies that are important. So I hearken back to what I was saying about communication. Communication is a very important skill as a professional. Problem solving, that's what actuaries do. And then professionalism. We're going to have a session about professionalism later on in this sense. And it's just, this is a very important thing that you have to demonstrate every year as an IFoA student that you are working on and achieving. And to learn more, you can scan the QR code, and that's all I have. But we have for a short question and answer session, and we're going to use, as we did for Cartinas, we're going to use a Mentimeter so that you can ask questions. And again, we probably don't have time to get to all the questions, but we will answer the questions afterwards for those questions. So I'm going to put it on to the Mentimeter code. So again, go to Mentimeter, type in the code, and then you should be able to ask questions. Again, it's anonymous, so we don't know who has asked these questions. And we'll wait till they come in.
While they're typing their questions, one question that came up during Cartina's session was around accreditation and what the IFoA is doing to support more universities to become accredited.
Okay. Yes, we are speaking, and I have been speaking to the University of Nairobi because it's known as one of the top universities about accreditation, and oftentimes there's some hesitancy about whether it's very difficult or it's very hard or whatever. And I just wanted to explain that it's a partnership between the IFoA and the university. And the process the university goes through is the university looks at their course that they have and they see how much is covered by, how much the IFoA syllabus covers their course. In terms of the number of exemptions that universities look to achieve, the highest amount that most universities look to achieve is 6 exemptions. So those are the first 6 exams that most universities look to achieve. The next number of universities is 3 exemptions. So it's very rare for a university just to have 1 exemption or to have 10 exemptions. It's very, very rare. I think there's 1 university that has 1 and there's 1 university that has 10. The rest are either 6 or 3. But we work with the university. Are they covering the syllabus, 80% of the syllabus in their classes? The examinations, are these difficult examinations that you sit, or are they multiple choice, where you just circle the answer and then that's easy? Are they demanding questions? And also, are they expecting the answers to be also demanding? And then how it's delivered. Is there a way, how is the university expressing how they deliver this information to the students, and is it engaging and involved? Then does the university demonstrate how they have involved employers? So the actual real actuaries out there in the field working with employers, because it's very, very important that it's not just academic, that you bring in the profession. And finally, is there a local actuarial society, a national actuarial society? Are they working closely together with them? Because it's very important, if there's a local actuarial society present, that they're seen working together. But that, in a nutshell, is accreditation. And it normally takes at least a year or 2 to work through all of this to get to the point where we say wonderful news and they are accredited. But we're interested in accrediting universities. It's not an easy thing because you're demonstrating you're at a global standard.
Thanks, Irene. Someone has asked, will this event session count towards PPD?
Yes, because of the fact what you're learning. Maybe not this session. My next session, no, because that's what you're learning about the actuarial profession. But in terms of developing your professionalism, there's different things that are covered. We're going to have, after me, we're going to have the employer session, and then we will have a wider field session, and then we will also have a professionalism session. So that will count for your PPD.
Thank you. What challenges do you foresee with the upcoming digital transformation, and how prepared are you to pivot from these challenges as a body?
It is something being very discussed almost daily within the IFoA, because of the fact that it's very, the world is now digital, and how are we adapting to that? The thing is, because of the COVID pandemic, we went online with exams. It was no longer paper-based, and where you had to sit in an exam hall. And that was, we were the very first actuarial professional body to be able to do that. And what that did is it opened up that you could be sitting anywhere and take the examinations, and you weren't required. Now, yes, there's pros and cons. I know that there's different views on this, but digitally, pivoting, that's exactly some of the steps that President Cartina was talking about, is we are really taking a look at this and taking that all apart, but how we can be more agile, more nimble, not only as the IFoA, but also as a profession.
Great question. Here's another good one for you around specialisation. So when you're talking about specialisation, how do people know what they should specialise in? How would they work out what areas to specialise?
The thing is I'm going to go back to that slide with the specialisms, is as you start on your actuarial career, you understand more as you study for it while you're at university. So you have an initial level of understanding of what you enjoy in some of the classes you take, some of the stuff that you didn't enjoy, some of the stuff that was a challenge, and maybe you didn't enjoy it, but you got satisfaction. Then as you start moving into the professional environment, you will find that there are some jobs that you will get that you think, this is challenging, this is exciting, this is interesting, I like doing that. And you look for ways to be able to build on that. You will also start realizing it's more of a professional acknowledgement that there's other things where you go, you know, it's not something I particularly enjoy, or it's not something of particular interest, but that specialism also develops through time. And some people also, as they progress through their career and progress through their exams, realize that there's actually a demand for some of these things, and they'd like to be part of meeting that demand. And so instead of waiting till their job develops into that, they actually go into that area. So you saw, like Cartina was talking about how she started off in broking, and then she went to risk, and then she went into working with the regulator. She worked for the Bank of England. So she looked for them not because that was something that naturally built on, but because she said, you know, that would be really interesting to do. So it's something that develops in time, because I don't think many people wake up after beginning university and say, you know, I think I want to go into pensions and benefits. Now, they actually, it's as they understand more about that industry.
Great. There's quite a few questions around what the IFoA is doing around making the fees more accessible and reducing the amount of fees. So I don't know if you can talk about our fee structure and such like.
Yes. Currently what we have is we have our regular fee structure for, which is the regular amount for what any member pays, but we recognize not everyone earns that amount of money, so we have a discounted amount. So we have a discounted membership fee, but we also have a discounted student exam fee for people, and our measure is what your income level is, to try and ensure that it's not particular to anything other than do you have the capacity or the ability to pay. And so we have that discounted fee, but it is a topic that is heavily discussed currently, and especially with the formation of the new IFoA board. We now have a unitary board, and you could see that in the governance structure that Cartina presented, and that's one of the main things on their agenda.
Great. There's a few around whether there's any appetite to moving back into physical exam centres and doing rather than online.
It does come up in discussions with our education committee. It does come up. It's one of these things that we look at to reevaluate. The thing is, we have found that the online exams actually were incredibly successful in as much as that it opened it up to so many more people in so many more variety of situations and circumstances. And so the value that was obtained there is amazing. I know the people who sat the exams in their bedrooms or wherever might not sort of feel that way, but actually it meant you could sit in wherever you wanted and do it. But at the same time, we recognize that there are some positives to sitting in an exam hall where you just have your desk in the exam hall. It is under evaluation, but we recognize that there's been a lot of benefit for the online exams.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. We have a new director of learning at the IFoA, and one of the things is looking at our whole learning provision in terms of how we deliver our exams, You will have seen some changes for our April exams where we're bringing in online proctoring and returning to a closed book exam. So a part of these changes will also be considering, what the future of our exams delivery looks like to ensure that we are future-proofing and making sure that we are delivering a robust exams delivery in the future. There's a few questions here, Irene, around if you're coming from an accounting background or not an actuarial background, whether you can still pursue the qualification.
Oh yes, I mean, you can come from any kind of background, but the important thing is to have that good, solid foundation and confidence in mathematics, statistics, that kind of environment, because there is a lot of it. And if you want to join the profession and do the exams because it's really interesting and there's lots of opportunities, that's one thing, but you actually have to have that foundation, that solid foundation in mathematics, statistics, that kind of part of there. So we oftentimes find people did an accounting qualification because they didn't know about the actuarial profession. So that's why it doesn't matter which other different things that you might have done, but do you have that good solid foundation and understand of mathematics and statistics? So that's not yet another challenge you have to achieve or overcome in going through your exams.
There's one here around if you fail one paper, is there any fee waiver on the second attempt?
Currently, unfortunately, no. So.
And let's see, let's go for two more questions. Is the actuarial field a competitive field? And if so, what would you advise a student to do as to top up their game and be relevant in the field even in the years to come?
Oh, competitive. I think it's competitive in the sense of that there are not enough actuaries in the world. I think it's been estimated that there's probably, some say 70,000 actuaries. Some people say it's probably 110,000 actuaries in the world. So it depends on who you talk to, but we're not talking millions. We're talking maybe 100,000. So it's highly competitive. There aren't enough actuaries in the world. And so there's a huge demand for more. And so it's competitive in the sense of that if there is a role that's open, is they will look for actuaries from lots of different places if they can't find it in their of research or pool that they're looking in. So it is competitive not because there are too many people, but it's competitive because there aren't enough people.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think the last question we'll have, and again, we've got lots of questions. We will follow up with answers that we haven't had time to answer today. How many papers should people sit each sitting, and how what's the best way to progress through the qualification?
All right, let's see. Let's go back here. So in terms of the papers that people sit, there is a suggested, I think it's on the website, of the suggested but not required way that you can go through the exams. And if you want to sort of progress faster than slower, is you do sit more than one in an exam session, but you try to balance it off so it's not two really technically difficult exams. So take, for instance, perhaps sitting statistics, CS1, at the same time as sitting CB1. So you have a technical and a non-technical exam in the same sitting. But would you do actuarial CP1 and modeling CP2 in the same session? Probably not. I mean, you could, but that's putting a huge amount of capacity that you need to devote towards passing those exams. So that's where you try to balance off what it is you're actually sitting in that same exam session. We do find students do sit more than one exam session if they've failed one, so they will already have studied, and so they're actually working towards that second exam, but they'll sit that one that they failed at the same time, because then that continues their progress in progressing. Okay.
Great.
So So we'll answer, well, we need to move on to the next session, so we will answer the questions that were raised. And also, please feel free to even ask questions that you didn't have a chance to ask, because we're always open to providing more information and helping people. We want you to become actuaries, and we want you to be successful. So, there we are. Now, the next thing we have is a panel where we've asked some employers that do hiring to come and talk to us and talk to you about, from a perspective of, instead of what's it like for me to be an actuary, it's, as an employer, sort of what they see, what they're looking for. So if I could ask the panel members, if they're all here, if they could join us on stage, and we will have Toby, who will be moderating the panel. So if I could invite James, if you could come up, and Stephen. Is Stephen here? Oh, excellent, if you could join us. And Lucy? Oh, there she is. And then Norman. Is Norman here? Ah, perfect.
Okay, brilliant. As you can see, we've got a well-esteemed panel of guests here to share their insights with us today. I'm going to start, if it's okay, if everyone can introduce themselves, a little bit about your career, where you work, what a typical day might look like for you, just to give our students a kind of a little insight into you before we sort of dive into the questions.
Good evening. My name is Norman Gitu. I work at Britam. I'm the head of Actuarial General Insurance. I have 8 years of experience. I've just worked my entire career in Britam, from an actuarial associate all the way to the head of Actuarial GI.
I think it's good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lucy Nondi. I am an actuary. I'm currently working at Jubilee Insurance, Jubilee Health Insurance. So I'm currently an actuarial manager there. Yeah, I've been there for like 2 years. Previously, I have been in the regulatory space, IT space, and now insurance. Maybe just to highlight, it's good to be back. I'm an alumni of UN. I think when I was here, this building had not been constructed. So yeah, it's good to see new developments.
Good evening, everyone. My name is James Koraro. I work in Zamara. I am a senior advisor in the People and Culture Department, or commonly known as HR. I am glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to an impactful session. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen Nganga. I work at Liberty Life Insurance as the head of the actuarial function. I have 13 years of work experience, particularly focusing on life insurance. Liberty now, this is the 3rd year, and previously I worked for Old Mutual. And yeah, I'm delighted to be here and to have this interaction and engagement. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for your introductions. We are sat in a room of hopefully aspiring actuaries who are going to be considering their next steps in their career. Hello? When you're okay, try again. Take 3. As I said, we're in a room of aspiring actuaries who we hope will join the profession and go on to have long, rewarding careers. when it comes to recruiting graduates or thinking about the skills that you're looking for, what is it that you're looking for when it comes to graduates? Anyone want to start?
They say ladies first, so can go. I think I'll split this in different sections. So, of course, in terms of qualification, we want to see that you are actually inspired or aspiring rather to be an actuary. So it will be you'll have an added advantage if you have 1 or 2 papers, just as you're graduating and looking even for an internship opportunity or for a permanent position. So it will be important to just see that you have made progress in your papers, because I think once you join, most companies, especially my colleagues, will tell you that if you're working in the actuarial department, then you'll be able to be sponsored for the other papers. So it will just be good for you to have 1 or 2 papers and for you to just be able to get into the working space. So for those people who are aspiring to be actuaries, this is the time to start your papers. Then in terms of the skills, I'll separate it, or rather talk about it in 2 ways. So we have the technical skills, and I usually say soft skills. So in terms of technical skills, we are looking at people, of course, who have strong mathematical background. We know actuarial is mainly math and statistics. So if you have that, it will be good, of course. And if you have any language, that you are a master in any of the programming languages, then it will also be very important, or rather key, when you're venturing into the actuarial space. I'm talking about R, Python, Stata, all those programming languages, and of course the Excel. Because most of the things that we do is mainly data analysis, and given the rather shortcomings of Excel, it's good to have, or rather have knowledge of the other programming languages. Then of course, the technical skills that I've mentioned, the language, strong mathematical background. Then maybe I'll leave my colleagues to talk about the other ones. But for me, when it comes to now the soft skills, I think Irene has mentioned this. When you're an actuary, you're not only communicating to your fellow actuaries or fellow colleagues. You'll be presenting papers to the board, people who have never stepped into an actuarial class. So it's good to have strong communication skills. It's good for you to be able to know how to communicate actuarial jargon, the probabilities that you're learning, how are you able to communicate that in simple terms. So I think for me it's usually a key factor to have that strong communication skill. And that is why I think for those people who are undertaking actuarial, you have, I think across all the courses, you have communication skills. Is that still happening? Communication skills as one of your units? Yeah, because it's quite important, because you're not going to be communicating to your peers. And then the other soft skills, of course, the reliability. I think I usually say, my colleagues will tell you, actuarial work, you'll be burning most of the time. We'll be working overtime. So that reliability and supporting so many departments. So it's important for you to also have that element of reliability, able to, the quote unquote, they're usually told, work under, I'd say, a bit of pressure, not a lot of pressure, but yeah, it's that element of reliability, yeah. And lastly, maybe what I'd say is automation. Like right now at Jubilee, we are also automating a lot of things, so it's good to also be aware on what is happening in the AI space, and just be informed on that. I think I'll stop at that.
All right, thank you so much. And I just want to add meat to it and give it a recruiter's perspective. Like she has said, we look into quite a number of things. The first one, or the very common one, your academic background. How did you perform? I will give an example of what we do in our organization. So for a graduate training program, it's first class or second upper. Of course, we will look at least 1 or 2 actuarial papers because that gives you like a head start. But to mention something about skill set, I heard some of the speakers here talk about business acumen or the ability to communicate. It is one of the skills that are lacking, I'm afraid to say so, but for those who have mastered it, then they end up becoming high flyers. What do you need, the question should be, what do you need to do for you to be a good communicator? In our organization, one of the values that we have is simplicity. So as an actuary, I know and I see you deal with complex mathematics, but how do you break it down to a layman? How do you break it down to a HR practitioner like James so that I can understand and be able to make sense out of it? So choose simplicity, break it down in granular so that the person who is consuming this information can be able to understand it without struggling. So that will give you an edge. Something that I also want to speak about is self-awareness. Self-awareness borders emotional intelligence. How aware are you about what you're doing, about what is happening in your industry? As an actuarial student, do you know what it takes to rise from, let's say, from an analyst to a consultant and eventually to a qualified actuary? So it is very important that as a student, as a student, you are able to grasp. And also, there is another skill that we call ability to learn. How agile are you? Because without that, then it becomes practically impossible for the senior actuaries here to be able even to pass an information to you or to be able to coach you. I know the list is endless, but that is just to mention but a few. But over and above all, I need to see that passion. I need to see that conviction. I need to see a student who is hungry to rise through the ladder. I need to see a student who wants to come in, learn as much as they can, as quickly as possible, but with one aim of qualifying. So that passion, that drive, we must see it. We must see it when we are giving you those tests in an interview. We must feel it, and you really need to go big on selling yourself with that passion. Thank you.
Okay, maybe we can just add on to what, briefly what he has mentioned. So sometimes being able to communicate also means you have to really have a good understanding or a good grasp of concepts. So you can only be able to explain something that you really or truly understand, or to break it down. So you can sort of break it down to first principles and explain to a layman what you exactly mean. So concepts like, do you understand present values? Do you understand how reserving works? So those ones are really important in the actuarial space. So also maybe just also to add what Lucy said, also having a good understanding of basically an awareness of what's happening within the industry. Like at the moment, there's a topical discussion around IFRS 17. I don't know whether you guys have heard something along those lines. So when you are coming for an interview and demonstrate that you have some sort of awareness about what's happening in the wider industry, then that adds, it's an added advantage to you. Then also right now, basically in terms of what also Lucy's mentioned around artificial intelligence, also it's good to sort of demonstrate some, you're able to, if I give you, for example, a small data set, can you be able to draw some insights? Can you be able to summarize that data set and tell me maybe a story along the data? Are you able to sort of check that data and It also helps to have a good understanding of some of the tools like Excel and maybe Python and R, which I believe you sort of cover as part of the curriculum.
I think lastly, in an interview, it's normally a high-pressured situation. So I just want to see how you'll be able to handle this high-pressure situation. One thing you want to do as students, you just need to relax and calm yourself down. So in that situation, so how you present yourself, how you talk, you may talk too fast or you might lack words. That is what will actually make or break, okay? The first thing is that we as Britam actually, it is not good to have, you must have at least one paper. So remember that you'll apply almost 300 or 400 people of you, like 400 of you will apply for this position. So the first criteria that I'll do a cutoff is that I'll look at, do you have any IFoA paper? One paper at least. So if you have one paper, we reduce the list from now 300 all the way to, let's say, 150 or maybe even 90 or so. Currently, we don't have people doing those papers. So that should actually be a challenge. Then the next thing, I come and check, I give you a first assessment and say, are you good in Excel? Or are you good in R? I'll just give you a simple, I'm not going even to examine the technical terms, no. I'm just going to assess whether you are really good in Excel or you are good in Python or R. Then the third one, I'll come and investigate how can you be able to handle a high-pressured situation. An interview is a high-pressured situation. How then do you articulate yourself? That is what I ideally look at when I'm doing an interview. Thank you.
Maybe if I can add on something. There's a perception, and I stand to be corrected, that most of the time actuarial students or actuaries are quiet people. I don't know if it's true and how true that can be. But what am I driving at? In an interview, I need to see someone who can collaborate. All of you here are students, and all of you here are bright minds. And I believe that all of you are here to get high grades. But it's not all about how good you are in the, or how high you score, right? You can be good with R, Python, all these programs. You can make a story out of this data. But are you a team player? Are you, how well do you blend into a culture where people work into a team, within teams? So as a graduate, when you present yourself out there, one of the things that you need to be big on is your ability to collaborate, your ability to work within a team. No one makes it alone. They say if you want to walk far, what do? If you want to walk far, what do? Pardon? You walk alone or you walk in a team? You walk in a team, but if you want to walk fast, you walk alone. So, collaboration is very key. Position yourself as a collaborator, add to communication skills, and then I believe you will be a good fit. Thank you.
Thank you. Some really interesting insights. You know, there's the core you were talking about, you know, things around getting ahead technically by doing an exam. You're thinking about those core communication, professional skills. And I was really struck by what you said, James, around, you know, this self-awareness and thinking about how do you make yourself aware of the profession, what's happening in the profession around you, and how do you be part of that? I think that's you know, really interesting thought for students to think about. Thinking about all of those things that you've highlighted in terms of those professional skills, communication skills, collaboration, teamwork, thinking about where they are on their journey now, practically, what can they be doing to help strengthen those skills? What can they be involved in? What kind of practical steps as part of, alongside their studies, can they be implementing now that's going to help build those skills? Do you have any sort of thoughts, insights, or examples that you've seen that students have done to really position themselves to stand out as graduates? Anyone want to start?
I'll start. I think I have sat in so many student forums, and I've gotten the chance to collaborate with SSK in so many events. And one event that normally stands out is the PDC. I don't know how many people have managed to attend any PDC competition. By show of hands. Exactly. So what PDC is basically, it brings out innovation from students. So I usually say, actuaries, we are solution providers. We don't wait on people to give us the solution. I mean, we have the data, we have all the information, we have the models. So what are we waiting for? So when you participate in those PDC competitions, it helps you to improve on your communication that has been overemphasized over here, because you are able to present in this kind of audience, and you're able to showcase your innovation. And that is how you can, one of the ways you can keep yourself abreast with even what is happening. My colleague Stephen has talked about IFoA's 17. Can someone just go and research and look for a model, look for a solution that you can be able to even pitch or even provide to an insurance company to be able to model their numbers using now the IFoA's 17 solution. So I think that is one of the ways you can be able to start or continue doing while you're still in the university. I usually say it's the time you have all the free time to venture and learn yourself and grow your skills. The other thing, of course, that I've mentioned is if you haven't started maybe learning some of those programming languages, trust me, when you start working, you won't have all the time. So there are schools right now that offer such certifications. I think we have some that are free, like Udemy. So you can go and just learn, even if it's an Excel tool. Norman has said the first thing he says, he just gives simple tasks to be able to separate the chaff and those people who you can say they've stood out. Because actuarial, the first step or the first basis of actuarial is data analysis. So if you cannot be able to manipulate a simple data set, what if Britam, no one can tell you, and even me at Jubilee can tell you, we tend to work with so like huge piles of data sets that need to be manipulated. So you need to develop those skills of data analysis, and even data science to just be able to understand. So I think those are some of the ways. Of course, volunteering. I think IFoA has so many working parties, even Task has working parties that you can be able to venture into it. Right now we have the ESG, which is I think one of the newest upcoming trends that we are seeing. So how can you be able to volunteer in some of these working parties to just understand what's going on within the actuarial space, within the insurance space, within banking, pensions. So right now it's the time to learn. And I think learning never stops. Even me right now, I'm still learning so many things. So it's important to just continue sharpening your skills, growing that experience, and usually say the sky is the limit. So, yeah.
In my time, when I graduated in 2016, the period between 2012 all the way to 2015, I was in one small university called Southeastern Kenya University, SECU at that time. So when I was there, I knew that I disadvantaged myself by not getting a degree from the University of Nairobi or Strathmore. So what I knew is that I needed to do my exams then. So I did my exams really properly that time, and I finished with approximately 7 exams when I was finishing my campus. What then that did is that it gave me an opportunity or a door at Britam. That was then, that was 2016. Things are actually changing. Right now, what I'm actually requiring is not only that you just pass one exam, but I want you to also pass, to also show me you can do Excel, because in most interviews or in most interviews, people are really good talkers, sweet talkers. So